Hi, I'm back. We're talking about the piecing for the center border. And so you're going to be making 24 flying geese. You're making 4 sets of the center border. So of course I have the quilt right behind me, but when you're looking at the closer picture of it, you can see it goes right around the center border. Hopefully you got that made last time, but it's these beautiful little points around the outside. So when we're talking about piecing, I just wanted to go through making the technical making of the flying geese. And so the first thing that you're going to be do is pairing 3 sets of fabric, your fabric 5 squares with your 13 5.5-inch bases. It's going to yield 12 flying geese. You're going to pair for flying geese B 3 sets with your fabric 3 with your fabric 12 bases. Okay, so I've done that pairing, and also you're going to be referring to your picture. Let me open that up, and that's right here, and that's what your center border looks like. So it's always good to look at that guide. You can see those fabric selections to make sure you have them paired properly. And I have my little visitor Bingley, who's here to help me again. Okay, so now we're ready to go. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your base. So I have my base fabric. I think this is my fabric 12 with my fabric 3. And Bingley, you need to scoot away here so we can work. So the first thing that you do, just as a reminder, and I know a lot of you have done this, but I'm just going to go through as a quick reminder. You're going to take your base, you're going to take your 2 squares, I lay them on top, and I do pin them before I sew. And then I take my Quilter's Magic Wand, I lay it from point to point, and then I take a pencil, mark it from each side so I get close to that magic wand, and then I'm going to sew on those lines like I have here. Okay, and you can see my sewing on the back. Bingley's just going to sit right on top. Okay, all right, so I've sewn that on here, and then I'm going to cut these apart. So when I just take and cut these apart, and then you're going to have this resulting, okay? You're just going to press these open. I'll just kind of press this open. And that's the next step. And then you're going to take one of your next squares, you're going to pin it to the center like I have here. You're going to take your Quilter's Magic Wand and you're going to mark from the point to the point, okay? Bingley, you're not a very good help today. Oh boy. And you know, he is the boss around here. And you're going to mark a 1/4 inch on each side. I like to pin this down also. Now, when you sew this, make sure that you start at the point here, that intersection, okay? Because then you know that these sizes are gonna, you know, it's a little bit easier when you square these up. And aside from my threads on the back, you can see that sewing on the back, okay? And then after I've sewn that, I'm just gonna take and cut that apart. And then when you open that up, you can see your flying geese. I'm going to press that open, and then you'll do that. And I'm pressing towards that little triangle away from the center. And then you'll be ready to cut that down. And then you'll be doing that with both colorways. So I am using my wing clipper to cut it down, and it's going to be, you can see the sizes here, and they tell you to cut that down, square it up to 2.5 by 4.5, all of them. So when I'm doing my wing clipper, I have this laid out, my 2.5, 4.5-inch grid. And you'll see when you lay this out that you have a little triangle here that is your first guide. And I lay that down and I do my first cut. Now when I'm doing a lot of these, I'll cut all of them in this direction first. I'll lay a whole bunch out and cut them, and then I'll turn them all at once. But since I'm only doing one for the sample, and then I lay it the other way, and I have my 4.5-inch with my points on the bottom, that little intersection right here, so you can see that point, the intersection here, and then I'll just square it up. And you see my 4.5 inch mark here. There's my 4.5 inch mark and my 2.5 inch right there, and I'll hold it down. And that's my square up right there. So it's very, very easy. Okay, and it's 2.5 by 4.5 inch. And then the nice thing is I have my perfect 1/4 inch. You can see it on the back, but a perfect 1/4 inch all the way around. So you want all of those done. You'll have 12 of each. Okay, and then once you get all of those done, you're going to be ready to start piecing your strips together. Let me get this assembly out of the way, and we have this laid out before the cat sat on it, but I've pieced this strip set together. This is what it looks like in your diagram, but how did I know the colors? Well, I went back to my reference point. So here's my reference point here, and this is your guide of your colorways. Okay, so I started here. I have it laid down, but I looked at the guide here and I sewed them in pairs, and then I just pressed towards one of the colors. Doesn't matter really which way, but here it says, maybe it tells you. Nope, it doesn't tell you. Okay, so I just press towards, I actually press towards the darker one, whichever you prefer. And then you're going to lay out your color 7 strip on kind of on the top of the geese, your 14 and your 13, and you're going to make 4 of those. And they should all line up. I usually, I press towards, it doesn't really tell you the pressing. On this one, I press towards the 7. I usually press away from the piecing. So I press towards the 14 and then press towards the 13. It doesn't really matter on these blocks, so whichever works out for you. And then just watch your intersections here when you're piecing this, and your intersection at the top so you don't cut them off. And you'll have 4 of those and you'll be good to go. Okay, and you'll save those for the next step. I think we're good. Have a good May. Hopefully we'll see you soon. And have a good month and be safe. Thank you.
Bye, Big May.